There's a lot of evidence that is coming up recently that's showing that we was already here, that we are the fucking Indians.
My underreported story. I want to talk about, well, you think of Kyrie Irving as a Jersey guy, all right? He grew up in West Orange, New Jersey. He was born in Melbourne, Australia, because his dad was playing professionally down there. But what a great scene this past week as he went to the Standing Rock Reservation, Standing Rock Sioux in Fort Yates, North Dakota. His mom, a full-blooded Native American, Elizabeth Larson, who passed away when he was young. And so Kyrie Irving, given his Lakota name of Little Mountain, and basically assimilated into the tribe. And it was a very emotional moment for this guy.
And the fact that I get to meet my family finally. I mean, you guys have no idea. This is finally meeting my mom's family, and now I'm with you guys forever, and I hope that you don't mind that, because I don't mind it either, so.
Yeah, and, you know, we joke about, flat earth and all of that, and we want to see him back at 100%, but clearly reclaiming that legacy. His mom was adopted out of the reservation at a young age, but this means a great deal to him. Clearly reclaiming that legacy. His mom was adopted out of the reservation at a young age, but this means a great deal to him. Clearly reclaiming that legacy. His mom was adopted out of the reservation at a young age, but this means a great deal to him. All right. What do you got?
And this goes to what I was saying before about the NBA rule changes. I mean, why do they have to change everything? I mean, the Davis Cup.
Get off his lawn.
It was right around for 100 years. One of the most prestigious championships in sports, the national competition.
We sent the sample of your DNA to the DNA Diagnostic Center in Cincinnati, and I have your results, Snoop. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm also ready.
Snoop Dogg, you are 0% East Asian.
Wait a minute. I don't got no Asian in me. I like Chinese food.
Snoop, you are 23% Native American. That's pretty big.
That's real big.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. And in all due respect to every race, niggas know black people don't crack. Like black don't crack.
Yeah, black don't crack. That was
it rhymes.
Yeah, what's it inconsistent?
Well, indigenous don't crack. The natives don't crack.
The natives don't.
You can see a native and he could be 90 years old and still look like he's 50. I'm talking for the natives.
Yeah.
I like when
it comes to talking about African Americans, I have no education with that. Period. I don't. I'm not even connecting to that no more because that's a system. That's like connecting and say, hey, he's a bad guy. You don't hang with him. Oh, hey, I'm gonna find out for myself. I'm not African American at all. My folks is not from Africa, and a lot of people in this room, folks ain't from Africa. Might be a couple, but people just don't understand. I asked my grandma, like, yo, grandma, what's your background? She like, Redfoot and Blacktail Indian. What? Yeah, my mother and my father did. We 100% Indians. Ask my other grandma, we got Cherokee in us, and European and Italian, a little Dominican. It's crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? That's why I'm over Africa. Y'all look at me funny, like, nigga, I'm African. Like, you're not though. Like, you're not. 80% of slaves was already here. It was natives. It's crazy.
80. Where you get that number from?
Shit, I just checked the books.
Which book?
Yeah.
I got a whole laptop full of this shit.
Yeah?
Yeah, just for me reading. It's not a solid book like, hey, just only 1,000 slaves came here. And nah, nigga, you gotta read. You gotta read. You gotta read. You have to literally read. Like,
you're other.
I'm uneducated. I'm uneducated. So for me to sit here like a college professor or professor, I'm wrong. I'm uneducated. I'm confused. You know what I'm saying? But I'm damn sure not black. You're not gonna call me black. My grandmother's not Crayola. Like,
so
no,
then,
I'm connected to a tribe. I'm from a tribe, not a country. It's a big difference. Different laws, different everything. Like, big difference.
We were always here.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm damn sure not black. You're not gonna call me black. My grandmother's not Crayola. Like,
so
no,
then,
I'm connected to a tribe. I'm from a tribe, not a country. It's a big difference. Different laws, different everything. Like, big difference.
You're not black, you're Moreno.
Nah, nigga, you gotta read. You have to literally read. Like,
now, let's get the shocking results. And it was really funny because I just knew my great-grandmother had some African descent. The result says, Dear Miss Domingue, it is with great pleasure that I report our matricline sequence similarity score is 100%, which means that we are 100% confident in your result. The bold letters indicate DNA sequence patterns that you share with this particular hologroup. Analysts determine your maternal lineage to be of Native American. Wow! I never thought Native American. That didn't even cross my mind. But guess what? I never knew Native American. And they did send me a certificate of ancestry. And I will go and check out the I'll check out the sequences they gave me so I can check out the background of where they came through. I love history.
These four brothers sitting here, we didn't all come from Africa. And there was a country before 1492, and our history goes way beyond 1492. So you can't start us at 1492. We were always here. We were always here.
Most people know that the first slaves in the state of New Jersey, sold in the state of New Jersey, were my ancestors. There were no Africans of any sizable amount in North America at that time. The slaves they continued to hound about being escaped slaves were Indians. And when we ran away to such an extent to cow us, they sent us to the West Indies to teach us and beat us and turn us into good slaves and send us back if we made it. These people did such a good job. I would assume it was Mr. Willie Lynch's plantation that when they got the science down correctly, they began taking the Africans that they couldn't control and sending them to the West Indies. So before this whole idea of cruelty and the diaspora of the Africans began, it began right here in New Jersey on the ramparts. Didn't believe on, even it didn't belong somewhere across the sea. It started right here. Right here.
This part of our history is what the school systems failed to mention in their history program.
So you got to really know your real history. And then a lot of Asiatics know this, but if they tell that real history, they can't keep on promoting the diaspora, which is partly fiction. Because they didn't bring us from anywhere. We were already here. We were here for thousands of years.
An independent source showing that the so-called Indians on the eastern seaboard, also called Terra Nova, were Moors, is called the book African and Native Americans by Jack D. Forbes. He shows in the book how many so-called Native American Indians were sold into slavery in Africa and Europe. This is the opposite direction in which we were taught the slave trade went. These Native Americans or Indians were classified as Negroes and Blacks in the slave books of Seville, Spain, and elsewhere. On page 29 he says, and I quote, slaves from Terra Nova show up in the slave markets of Seville and Valencia very soon after 1500. For example, in Valencia during the period to 1516, we find in 1503 Miguel Man, in 1505 Juan and Pedro, and in 1507 Antonio and Juan Amarco. In 1515 Ali, now Melchor, and in 1516 Catalina. They were all classified as Negroes, unquote. Now, think about this. If we were first brought to North America around 1619, or even as early as 1555 for that matter, then how were they taking slaves from Newfoundland to Europe, all before 1520? Keep in mind that one of the Native Americans even had the name Ali, and all were classified as Negroes once they reached Valencia. How did a Native American in 1515 have a Moorish name, Ali? At least 3,000 Americans, so-called Indians, are known to have been shipped to Europe between 1493 and 1501, the Columbus expeditions, with the likely total possibly double that. Most were sent to the Seville area, where they seemed to show up in the slave markets as Negroes. These are major contradictions to the whole slave trade myth. Blacks were always in America. The missing Indians are Negroes. The slaves sold on the slave markets in the South were initially the black people from right here in this hemisphere. As they took the lands here, they enslaved the inhabitants of those lands who were black. The tens of millions of Americans, so-called Indians, who disappeared after 1492 did not all die in the Holocaust inflicted within America. Many thousand were sent to Europe and Africa as slaves. The whole slave trade myth is that the whole story was given to us in reverse. A mass colony of Africans were not shipped from Africa to America, but the truth is that black Indians were shipped from America to Europe. They were then shipped from Spain to Africa as a commodity for African resources. These black Indians, now mistaken as Africans, were shipped back to America and classified as African slaves. This part of our history is what the school systems failed to mention in their history program.
So it's very frustrating to try to prove that you're Native American. I found it frustrating for me because I was like, where is it? You know, I know that I'm Islamic, that I'm Islamic, that I'm Islamic. And I know, well, Islamic, if you want to call it that.
Would you travel 1,000 miles to see a building made out of corn? Well, 120 years ago, when travel was quite a bit more grueling, a lot of people did just that. And today, thanks in part to this unusual ag attraction, the great state of South Dakota harvests a $500 million corn crop each year. Here's more than just a kernel of truth behind this colorful story. Its Moorish minarets soar over the intersection of 6th. Its Moorish minarets soar over the intersection of. Its Moorish minarets soar over the intersection of. Its Moorish minarets soar over the intersection of 6th and Main in downtown Mitchell, South Dakota. Telltale markers of a block-long monument to the great American grain. The world's only corn palace, brag the locals, a perpetually changing edifice that helped found a state.
The Mitchell Corn Palace is built to show people that we can grow things in South Dakota. And what better way to get people to come out here and farm than to build a building and cover it in what you grow?
And as a result, that's how we relate to even today, you know, that the traditional people, they retain it, they're able to relate to it. And we're fortunate we have this. Several years ago, Hussein wrote him a letter and wanted him to take a delegation because they want to meet with Parliament. So Arvil put together a delegation. I didn't know that until a couple years ago. Last year, PLO came.
They came.
They came here. Yeah.
To Pine Ridge. The Palestinian Liberation Organization came to Pine Ridge. Yeah.
And they called me in the middle of the night and said, "We're in town, we want to meet with you." So I didn't know what they were going to meet about, you know. And so I said, okay, let's meet in the morning. So we had a shade over here. So we had to get together, and they came, and they were told me to get Richard Brokenose. So I went out and got him. And here he was one part of the delegation that went to Hussein years ago. And they wanted to know, Parliament wanted to know where we came from as Lakota people. Mm. And I said, how do you arrive at that? He said, well, 100 years ago there were 10 tribes, and they only found 7. And since then we found 2 in the last 100 years. But we never found the 10th one. And then we think it's a Lakota nation. So how do you arrive at that? And he said, well, God gave a gift to each of the 9 bands. And we're the 10th. We're the only tribe in the USA that got a gift from God. So that's what they concluded, you know, way the 10th one. And there's 11 Muslim nations are looking at you. If you say yes, we are part of it then.
So it's very frustrating to try to prove that you're Native American. I found it frustrating for me because I was like, where is it? You know, I know that I'm Islamic, that I'm Islamic, that I'm Islamic, And I know, well, Islamic, if you want to call it that.
And there's 11 Muslim nations are looking at you if you say yes. We are part of it then. And there's 11 Muslim nations are looking at you if you say yes. We are part of it then. It'll help you, 11 nations. That's where that.
And so the Muslim nations believe the Lakotas are one of their...
Yeah, one of their bands.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And so the Muslim nations believe the Lakotas are one of their...
Yeah, one of their bands.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And so the Muslim nations believe the Lakotas are one of their...
Yeah, one of their bands.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
They have some Native Americans publicly coming forth trying to downplay our role in being the original mound builders and whatnot.
Oh, I can understand that now.
Yes.
Now, when you do, let me give you some keys. Let me give you some keys, and this is respect to the brothers too, because we're all family.
Mm-hmm.
They and we are one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're talking about divisions or power games that you see that's being played. And this is why I say people need to know world history so they don't get caught up in emotionalism. And then you already know, so I don't really have to kind of beat your head about it, because I already know when we leave here that you will quickly go get the information.
Mm-hmm.
You go look up the Mauryan dynasty, Mauryan, Nanda, Gupta dynasty in what is called Hindustan, that they call India. All right, you go look up the records in Gravesend, England, and in the museums, the shipping records of Columbus. You go that 8th grade test that we booked up from Kansas of Europeans, where they made up the name Native American and made up the name Indian, but they know that we are not. As soon as you agree to be that, you put yourself under their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? This is why and how they've divided us against each other. See, I'm a Native American, so therefore I got sovereignty, and you ain't my brother, and all that kind of dumb crap. They under his jurisdiction. That's why they can't make a casino without paying his European tax. Oh, come on, please. Talk about sovereignty. Well, where's the passport? Come on, man, please. Now, the deal is what is happening is that we've fallen into this tribalism and not recognized our own nation. I'm Cherokee. I don't sit around talking about I'm Cherokee and Blackfoot. It's my family. But I already know those are brand names that the European created. Cherokee, that's Anayanwea. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not confused about that, but I'm not sitting around there arguing about Cherokee. I know the nation is the Moorish Empire.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Now, our tribalism is really what caused a lot of our own fall.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And if you'll see, every time we play this tribal game, he breaks every tribal treaty, every last one of them. And yet the world's longest running treaty is what? Provable information. Look it up for yourself. Is the Moroccan Treaty of 1787 superseded by the Treaty of 1836, which is the world's longest running treaty, and the one that the great heirs won't enforce because they insist on being black. And that's it. And here it is. And that's why a lot of times when we even talk about the treaty, and you do this because I know you can analyze this, you'll analyze this. That's why when we did the treaty, when we expose the treaty, that we always do the preamble to the treaty where we show the people that Benjamin Franklin, Tom Jefferson, and John Adams were ministers plenipotentiary under the Sultan of Morocco before the adoption of this Constitution, before Georgie was even smelling that office.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Now you understand why they all must be Masons. Now that's documented. And then people sit around there, they don't know we Moors. Oh, please. That's why we took them to Alexandria, Virginia, to show them these Europeans wearing your fez with Elam Bay on it. Because they keep debating with us, and then other people trying to sell them packages with a Clock of Destiny, trying to make it seem like they own this thing. This is your birthright, no matter what organization it comes from. You understand? I can't own it, and no one else can own it. Temple can't own it. All all he did is brought it and made you conscious of it. Now what you want to do with it? That's right. Our interest is to get organized and exercise it. That's what it is. You understand? And don't get caught in throwing the baby out with the bathwater because we piss off at each other. That's why we fell anyway, because as soon as we get together, everybody want to be the chief. See the brother over here, he ain't the sovereign because I'm the sovereign, man, because see, I'm Cherokee. Boy, that's the tribe. That's like in the corporate world, like saying, I'm New York. You from Philly. Oh, no, you ain't that. Boy, we're the same people. What? You don't get this. We are so naive, so childish, so trite, so petty, and the European laughing all the way to the bank. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We ain't Indians. They called us that, but we ain't Indians. They just thought they got a hold of the trade. That's why they had to go around Cape Hope. You ask any... Brothers flew in from Morocco about 201.
When was that? Cape Hope?
When the Europeans were trying to get to India.
They showed that in 2012.
Yes. That's the whole point. Because they was trying to get where? They was trying to get to India. Which is why when they hit the islands and the Bahamas, they thought they were in India. Because when you trace their records, you'll see that Moors navigated the Nino.
Got 3 ships too.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Why? Because they thought the world was flat. Because soon as they got offshore and seen a dolphin, mutiny's next. One of the hardest things they had was keeping the crew together, because as soon as they see a whale, it's really over. Captain's in trouble. And then they're going to convince you that they done brought millions of us here when they thought the world was flat. We're full of it. We was already here. You understand what I'm saying to you? And we're the ancient ones. And Anasazi means ancient ones. It's not the identity. Washita or Wichita, we're the most ancient people on the planet. But that doesn't mean we weren't by other names. But the latest government under which these tribes here fell is the Moroccan Empire, sometimes listed in world history as the Ottoman Empire. That's why when you go into treaty laws, it'll talk about Egypt, which is the capital empire of the Moroccan Empire, and all other former parts of the empire. It'll tell you right there in the law.
We stand here several hours away from Thanksgiving. Can you break down the turkeys as a correlation?
Now, you know why they call the bird turkey? Because we're the Turks.
Turks.
Because we're the ones that kept them in check. It wasn't really something that they ate that bird. Most of us didn't even eat that bird because the bird's a buzzard. It's a buzzard. No, that bird is a buzzard. They named the turkey in qualification that on that day they poisoned a lot of chakrams. And it ain't like we sit around and have some meals full. You understand? You need to understand, and it doesn't mean that this time in the Nova period is not a celebration for us, because it's harvest celebration according to the clock. You understand? It's just that they're not doing things necessarily in contrary with nature. They're just renaming a lot of the days of the sun that you call holy days, and then we reject them because we think it's his. He ain't got no culture. He's just imitating us. And it doesn't take anything from him, so don't get angry at him because we taught him. That's what the Renaissance is. That's why people need to understand the Renaissance so they can understand Masonry. And while the Europeans stole a lot of things from us, we can't just say he stole everything because we taught him. We made him.